is not inevitable for the doomsday of Venezuela. It faces the biggest economic and humanitarian crisis in Venezuela's history. Venezuela was affected by a 24-month collapse in oil prices. According to the International Monetary Fund, the economy is expected to shrink by 10% at the end of 2016, the largest contraction in the last 13 years. By 10%, inflation is more than 700%. Other analysts say inflation has reached 1 million. The Venezuelans are faced with a growing complexity of corruption, daily electricity interruptions, drugs and food stress. Venezuelans do not even get the most basic life-saving medical supplies as antibiotics. On Monday, August 22, 2016, Brent oil was traded at $49 per barrel, but while Brent's barrel price was $102, even Venezuela was experiencing economic problems. Even after the recovery of crude oil, high prices are unlikely to solve the economic, humanitarian and political crisis. In Venezuela, 96% of foreign exchange earnings come from the petroleum industry, with income falling 50% more with the collapse of oil prices. However, in addition to falling incomes, oil production also fell, and the pain of Venezuela had doubled. Things can get bigger. Some oil companies have suspended or slowed operations in Venezuela due to difficulties in getting payments from the state-run oil company Petróleos de Venezuela. Contractors have reduced the drilling in Venezuela amid rising debt and are threatening to pull down Venezuela's production even further. On June 28, 2016, Baker Hughes reported that the number of oil rigs in Venezuela fell from 69 to 59 this May. The Saipem Spazio, an Italian oil and gas delivery contractor, said in April that 89% of the company's operating installations were suspended in Venezuela. Other companies, such as Schlumberger or Halliburton Co., reduce their activities in Venezuela due to free service invoices. PDVSA is in negotiations to turn petroleum services companies and unpaid services into financial instruments, a process known as securitization. Venezuelan Oil Minister Eugenio Del Pino said last month that PDVSA had signed financing agreements with Weatherford International plc and Halliburton and that Schlumberger was close to an agreement to strengthen his presence in OPEC countries. This mechanism allows commercial debtors to finance their low oil price environment to finance their cash flow holding vehicles with financial returns, Del Pino said. These mechanisms enable contractors to continue local operations. In the explanations, those who describe these operations as development plans supported by major drilling and services companies did not say which were included in the discussions. Even if oil prices rise, the situation for the Venezuelan economy is very complex. PDVSA does not have any cash, is trying to pay the debt and needs investments to keep the oil sector from dropping its oil production, leaving investments to new operations. For the time being, the Venezuelan government has stated that debt repayment is a priority, even if it means worsening conditions for its people. It seems a strange choice, but for a country that is dependent on oil exports that export 95% of its income, the government is absolutely concerned about exposing itself to legal actions by bondholders in international courts. In addition, the default cost may be higher than the payment of liabilities. In addition, non-payment will bring a more negative picture to the government's monetary status, which will make it uncomfortable to renegotiate new credit limits. So far, Venezuela is still a solver. However, this issue is mismanaged by the government with the wrong policy. Venezuela needs to learn from past mistakes and needs enormous reforms to put the country in the right direction.